Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you the deck profile for the week. This one is a red-black Dracula kind of aggro deck that was designed by my buddy Tyler Norris, who sent it to me to give it a shot. Really fun deck, operates at a very low mana curve, so you're operating it almost at max 4, or at max 5, but you can usually get by with 2 to 4 different magic stones up total, and still operate perfectly where the deck needs to be. So let's jump right in. The ruler is Alucard the Dark Noble. You can tap him to give target Resonator -300 until the end of the turn, and his J activate is pay 0, but you can only activate it if you control a vampire and if a creature that your opponent controls was put into the graveyard this turn. So something like having a vampire while you Quick Thunder their card, something on their field has to die while you control a vampire, and in order to be able to flip him over. And he becomes Dracula, the demonic one. A 1,000/1,000 vampire with flying and imperishable, so even if he does get killed, he'll just flip back over to Alucard and can be played again. And he has the continuous effect of if a Resonator your opponent controls dies, gets sent to the graveyard, and he dealt damage to it at all in some way, shape, or form this turn, you actually put that card into your field under your control and make it a vampire/nightmare. So a really powerful trick to be able to just take your opponent's board presence, steal it, and use it for your own, and throw all of that aggression back at your opponent. So very cool card. For Magic Stone lineup, it is a black-red deck, so for Magic Stones and Scorched Bales, a little red the Pure Stone for the option of grabbing whatever kind of color you need, and possibly pumping up one of your creatures to be able to trade easier, and a Grusbalesta to be able to, this is more for sideboard options so that you can go ahead and sideboard into a duel easier without having to take up a slot for the stone as well, but it can serve as a quick -300 to be able to, or -200 to be able to deal with something to possibly trigger your Dracula effect during the draw step if you need to. So yeah, and then 2 red and 2 black basic magic stones to round up the lineup, because you don't want too many dual stones, you don't really need them that much in this deck, and you want to try to keep it as simple as possible, and split heaven and earth's a thing. So moving on to Resonators, it's the Vampire package, slightly modified. So 4 serving a Vampire. He serves as pretty much your primary protection for this game, in the fact that if you control one and your opponent is trying to target something with a spell or ability, target a vampire, you have to choose Servant a Vamp. So they're kind of like your protection spells, protection effects, but in the form of a monster that can get pumped up by Alvarez the Demon Castle and can be recurred for the same way. So pretty cool. Then for Lora the Bloodspeaker, it's your primary tutor for the deck. Most of the time you're going to search for another Lora with your Loras until you have enough will ready to go to grab your one of your 2 Carmillas. The deck doesn't rely heavily on Carmilla as some other vampire packages do. It primarily focuses on Dracula himself, and so searching for another Lora so you always have a creature to be able to put out and still have mana left over to use, will left over to use, is always good. Then 2 Vampire Staff. This deck doesn't have the normal life gain that most vampire decks utilize, so in terms of blood-sucking impulse and stuff like that, so Vampire Staff is your way to be able to do that. Just being able to slowly burn your opponent over time, very good. And then 2 Carmillas, as I said, the deck doesn't heavily rely on Carmilla, but she serves also to boost that whole kind of stealing your opponent's creatures kind of thing. You saw it in the match, I stole Sinbad a lot. And she's just able to just be spot removal as needed, so very powerful card. 2 Cinderella the Ashen Maiden. Tyler and I are both really big fans of this card, so I think he tries to almost splash it into every deck. But really cool card that lets you do board wipes, which is really powerful right now against things like Aggro and more aggressive decks. You know, you can play it with an already semi-okay board and then just do a quick board wipe. Can be really powerful, again, especially when you want to trigger that that vampire J activate with Dracula. You could play her for 2 mana while you have like 2 other vampires, banish another vampire at herself to deal 400 damage, enough to wipe something, and then you can still get that Dracula out that turn. So pretty neat. And then 2 Hastur to again make use of, once you've gotten Dracula out, it's not super important to hold on to those vampires that aren't necessarily as powerful, so why not make use of them and turn them into instant removal. So you're going to use the incarnate cost for Hastur of a Fire Dark or Fire Dark pretty much every time. You're not going to have to worry too much about the other way. So, and then 2 Mephistopheles, because he's kind of a necessary evil just in case you need to put a creature out there that's bigger than 1,000, so be able to answer that, as well as to have another flyer that can just finish games, can put a lot of pressure. And in the same vein, 1 Blazer for that same reason, to just kind of have a bonus finisher just in case the game goes a little bit long and you need to swing in quickly to close out a game. Moving on to the spell lineup. 4 Thunder for spot removal, burn, being able to quickly turn on Dracula as needed. 3 Duel of Truth for the same kind of reason, but also this is primarily used for when you have Dracula on the field, because then you can get almost a free creature out of this too and go 2 for 1. So that's really good. And then same thing, Bind of Gravity is another way to set up your Dracula steal plays, because you'll be able to just tap something, Dracula is flying, so he can ignore the other blockers, swing in, steal the creature. So very, very good. All of those ways are ways to quickly make use of Dracula. 4 Flames of Outer World, just because of the fact that it's unchaseable, so it's a really powerful burn card right now. 2 Split Heaven and Earth, just to be able to steal games that maybe shouldn't have been going your way. So kind of a backup situation. In my testing, I don't know if I necessarily would main it in this deck, but it was the list that he sent me, so I wanted to honor that. 2 Alvarez the Demon Castle, lets you pump up all your vampires, not vampire resonators, just all vamps, which would also include all of the creatures that your opponent has stolen from them. So that's really good ways to just put a lot of pressure on, and you can pay a black and banish it to bring back a vampire from your graveyard. So you can recur a Servant if you need to get some more protection, another Carmilla if you want to be able to, hit stuff hard, all kinds of things. And a Stoning to Death, just because we needed a slot, and Stoning to Death is a good card for things like holding on for like a Meph or a Blazer, things that can't get killed by Flames of Outer World. And then closing it out, really powerful card right now, Awakening at the end, 4-drop, all Resonators gain -700, -700. Doesn't bother Dracula because he's ruler, and just a 4-drop spell that just says no to an entire board. Yes, it does hit yours too, but you're usually prepared for it, and with Alvarez the Demon Castle, some of your creatures are going to be possibly able to survive this. So really, really good card overall. So yeah, that is the deck, guys. Red-black Dracula heavy aggro. So let me know what you thought. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you thought about the deck. Would you run the deck? What would you change about the deck if you were going to run it? And until next time, guys, this is DMO73 signing off.